Welcome back to the Wisecrack Monk, your go-to spot where wisdom meets sarcasm and anime gets the respect it deserves. Today, we're diving into Demon Slayer: Infinity Castle Part 1. Buckle up, because this review has fights, philosophy, and a little bit of brutal honesty. Earlier, most people used to think anime was just cartoons, and cartoons were only for kids. Because of this mindset, even high-budget anime movies never got a proper theatrical release in India. As far as I remember, Shin-chan and Doraemon movies managed to get theatrical releases. But apart from those, we only got a handful of US animated films. Anime never got the respect it deserved. But times were about to change. In 2019, Weathering With You released in July and received amazing reviews for its visuals and story. It came from the makers of Your Name, which is still considered a masterpiece and fan favorite. The popularity of Weathering With You on social media, combined with fan requests, made PVR cinemas step up. They announced that they would release Weathering With You in October 2019 across India, with limited screens and shows. This announcement came alongside a petition where nearly 50,000 plus fans signed, showing their love and support for anime. And that moment marked the beginning of anime screenings in India. I still remember that year. I waited patiently until October. I reserved my ticket at the nearest PVR, super excited to see anime visuals on the big screen for the very first time. But sadly, it didn't happen. The show got canceled because there was less than 10% occupancy. Honestly, I was heartbroken. Even though fans and PVR tried, most people didn't notice or weren't interested. I walked back home disappointed, thinking maybe this would never happen. But time had other plans. With movies like Suzume, The Boy and the Heron, One Piece, Red, Demon Slayer, To the Swordsmith Village, and many more, things started changing drastically. And that brings us to where we are today, with Demon Slayer: Infinity Castle being treated like a major event in India. My take on Demon Slayer: Infinity Castle, Part 1. It was already announced that the Infinity Castle arc would be a 3-part series, starting with the Hashira training arc, then Infinity Castle, and finally the Sunrise Countdown arc. From the beginning, expectations were clear. These movies would focus heavily on battles and character backstories. And that's exactly what we got. As usual, the fight animations were absolutely top-notch. We got to see Shinobu and Kanao versus Doma, Zenitsu versus Kaigaku, Tanjiro and Giyu versus Akaza. Most of the runtime was dedicated to Tanjiro and Giyu versus Akaza, with Akaza's backstory woven beautifully into the battle. We also saw Tanjiro's flashbacks with his father. This fight took up a major portion of the movie. Akaza's backstory was powerful and emotional, showing us why he is the way he is. Honestly, the way it was written and animated, it almost felt like the movie was centered on him. And the way the fight ended, it said a lot about Akaza as a character. It was intense, emotional, and very well executed. On the other hand, Zenitsu versus Kaigaku was visually brilliant. But I personally felt a little disconnected. The fight ended quickly, without much emotional weight or backstory. Zenitsu and Inosuke are fan-favorite characters, and I expected more development or emotion-packed battles here. So that part left me a little disappointed. Now, Shinobu and Kanao versus Doma. This fight isn't over yet. It will continue in the next part. And honestly, this is the one I'm most excited about. Doma is upper rank too, which makes him stronger than Akaza, who we just saw fighting Tanjiro and Giyu. We got a small glimpse of Doma's backstory, how he was treated like a god because of his eyes and looks, and how he believed killing people was actually helping them. That's some real twisted villain stuff. It reminded me of how Madara in Naruto wanted to trap humanity in an illusion to bring peace. I'm not saying Doma is Madara, no one can be, but the philosophy behind these villains is fascinating. Overall thoughts. Visually, this movie was stunning, but not the best of Demon Slayer. If I compare it to Swordsmith Village arc or Entertainment District arc, those arcs were more impactful in terms of story and character depth. Here, the backstories and character arcs were good, but not enough to hit the same level. That said, I understand the maker's strategy. If they gave us everything in Part 1, it would be hard to top it in the upcoming parts. So in a way, they're holding back to build anticipation for the grand finale. Still, I expected more from this installment. But here's the good part. The hype for the next part is sky high. We're going to see Inosuke join the fight alongside Shinobu and Kanao against Doma. And more importantly, we finally get to see Upper Moon 1 in action. That's where things are going to explode. So that's my review of Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1. Have you watched it already? What did you think of it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them.